Hey, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? So, welcome to the Pisces Ascendant or the Pisces Rising sign in astrology. Now, for those of you who are new to my channel, let me tell you people that the rising sign or the ascendant in astrology is far more important than your sun sign or your moon sign. Why? Because it sums up the picture of your entire life. Not only does it tell about your personal traits and characteristics, but it also tells about the kind of ancestral lineage that you would be coming from. Then it tells about your friends and acquaintances. Then it tells about the kind of speech and the communication ability you will have. Then it tells about the kind of home environment you will have, or what will be the nature of the parents that you will be blessed with in this particular life. Then it tells about your education and the nature of the romantic affairs that you are most likely to get into. Then it tells about that how you will behave at your workplace. What kind of a relationship would you have with your co-workers and the fellow colleagues. Then it tells about the nature of your spouse. Then it tells about the careers that you're most likely to get into. And since it sums up the picture of your entire life, that is why the ascendant or the rising sign is of the paramount importance in astrology, and it is far more important than your sun sign or your moon sign. And why these Pisces rising? We are discussing the Pisces rising ascendant or the Pisces rising individuals in this particular episode. And why these Pisces rising individuals are called so? Well, these Pisces rising individuals are called so because Pisces must have been the sign that must have been rising from the eastern side of the hemisphere at the precise moment of the precise date of the precise month of the precise year at that particular location when these particular individuals would have been born. At that particular precise point, at that particular precise timing of that particular place, Pisces must have been the sign that must have been rising from the eastern side of the sky. And that is why the energy of the Pisces sign comes into the first house of their horoscope. And since Pisces sign is represented by the symbol 12, so we see the symbol 12 written into their first house. This is the first house in a Vedic chart, this one that I am pointing out to. So the energy of the Pisces sign comes into the first house, and you can see the symbol 12 written over here. And in Vedic astrology we always move in the anti-clockwise direction, and therefore since we move in the anti-clockwise direction, after 12 comes 1. So you can see 1 written into their second house, the symbol 2 written in their third house, the symbol 3 written in their fourth house, the symbol 4 written in their fifth house, and as we move we finish up with the symbol 11 in their 12th house. And the way we go about analyzing this chart or analyzing any area of life of these Pisces ascendant is by the fact that since 12 is written over here, so the energy of the original 12th house of the horoscope comes into the first house for these Pisces ascendants. Similarly, the energy of the original first house of the horoscope comes into the second house for these Pisces ascendants. Similarly, the energy of the original second house of the horoscope comes into the third house for these Pisces rising individuals. Similarly, the energy of the original third house comes into the fourth house of these Pisces rising individuals. And similarly, as we move in the anti-clockwise direction, we end up with the 12th house of the Pisces rising individuals having the original energy of the 11th house. And this is this fundamental theory, this fundamental and constitutional theory is going to help us in deciphering any area of life of these Pisces rising individuals. So what is first house in astrology all about? Well, the first house in astrology is about us, we, who are we as individuals, right from the physical build to our mental state. The first house in astrology tells us about our likes and dislikes. The first house in astrology tells us that where does our inclination lie. Where the first house in astrology tells us about the goals that we have set for ourselves. The first house in astrology is the picture or the map of your entire life. As I told you, the first house in astrology tells about your personality and traits. And what is the 12th house in astrology all about? Well, the 12th house in astrology is the house of losses. Now, when I say losses, I don't necessarily mean the monetary losses, but it could be a loss of energy in one form or the other. These Pisces rising individuals have to put in a lot of effort, they have to put in a lot of energy in order to accomplish any task that they take up, much to the point that they physically, emotionally, and mentally exhaust themselves by the time they take their task to completion. They kind of physically, emotionally, and mentally exhaust themselves. So 12th house symbolizes losses in the form of energy, that you are draining out your physical energy, you are draining out your emotional energy, you are draining out your mental energy, and the things of that nature. And if not the loss of energy, it could also symbolize the monetary losses, as I already said, or any losses on the materialistic scale or the materialistic plane. Now that we have studied that what is the first house in astrology is all about, as I previously discussed, and now that we have discussed the 12th house in astrology, what do we reckon from these two combinations? Well, you all know that the 12th house in astrology is 12 places from the first house. 12th house in astrology is 12th from the first house. So 12th represents the loss of energy in one form or the other, whether it could be a loss of physical energy, mental energy, emotional energy, monetary losses, or any losses on the materialistic plane or the materialistic scale. And first house represents, what does first house represent? First house represents self-love. First house represents situations wherein you are thinking about the love that you want to receive from the other people. First house represents situations wherein you are thinking about your goals. First house represents situations wherein you are putting in an effort to reach out to either fulfill your goals or to reach out to the ways and means which will help you in fulfilling your wants and desires. So first house is the house of your goals, your desires, your wants. And what else the first house in astrology is all about? The first house in astrology is the picture of your entire life, the map of your entire life. The first house in astrology is basically a house wherein you are concentrating on yourself. So what happens for these Pisces rising individuals is that since the 12th house is 12th from the first house, so it is so for them there is a loss of the elements of the first house. So for them the self-love dissolves, and instead they are thinking about the other people. Like herein it's the other way around, that is, they are not thinking about the quality and the magnitude of love that they are receiving from others, and instead they are thinking about the quality and the magnitude of love that they are giving to others, or they ought to give to others who need their love the most. And this makes these individuals, Pisces rising individuals, very benevolent, very clement, very generous and magnanimous in nature. And guys, since these Pisces rising individuals are very clement, are very benevolent, magnanimous and generous in nature, they are always thinking about the betterment of the other people. Then these people consider the entire universe as a single entity, and they are always putting in efforts to collectively raise the universe, to collectively raise the entire universe to a whole new level of self-awareness and self-consciousness. Then these individuals are all about fulfilling the wants, the wishes, the desires of the other people at the cost of their own self-advancement, at the cost of fulfilling their own goals and desires. They kind of help the other people reach out to the ways and means which will help the other people fulfill their goals. Then when it comes to careers, these people are seen extending their pure, selfless, divine, unconditional and esoteric love to the people in the jails, asylums, orphanages, addiction centers, hospitals, the schools for the blind, and the rest of the dark places that are represented by the 12th house in Vedic astrology. Now, when these people serve at these dark places like jails, hospitals, mental asylums, addiction centers, orphanages, schools for the blind, and the things of that nature, these people kind of physically, emotionally, and mentally drain themselves in the service of the other people. Now you might be thinking that these people don't love themselves. No, there is nothing like that, and in fact they are of the mental orientation, and they are of the mental makeup that fine, I'll think about the love that I want to receive from the others around me, but firstly I'll extend my services. Firstly, I'll extend my love to the ones who are devoid of happiness in their life. So these people can extend their love and services to somebody who is sick and bedridden for life. They may extend their love and service to somebody who is suffering from cancer or practically any physical illness. They may extend their love to somebody who is suffering from an incurable mental illness, say schizophrenia, OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, PTSD, post-trauma stress disorder, dyslexia, and social anxiety, and the things of that nature. They may fall in love with somebody who has had a very troubled childhood. They may fall in love with somebody who lost his parents in the early childhood, and therefore this person that they have fallen in love with was devoid of the love that the parents so willingly shower onto us. These people may fall in love with somebody who is battling with an addiction of some sort. May fall in love with a person who is battling with an addiction of with an addiction of alcohol, who is battling with an addiction of drugs and opioids, or any substances that induces the temporary insensibility. Or they could be serving somebody who has a lost leg. Now wherein there could be situations wherein these Pisces rising individuals might fall in love with somebody, or they may be rendering their services to somebody who they know deep within themselves. These Pisces rising individuals might know that the person that they have fallen in love with, or whosoever they are extending their rendering their services to, is not going to survive for a very long time. Yet these Pisces rising individuals want to extend the purest love, and they want to marry this person. They want to give all the happiness of this world to their partner before she leaves the world. Now this is kind of beyond the realm of understanding of the individuals of the practical world, that why this Pisces rising individual who is healthy and hearty has to marry somebody who is not going to live for a very long time, or who is having a lot of issues in his life. And this is the reason these Pisces rising individuals keep their affairs very secretive in nature. At least if not their married life, at least their romantic affairs are very secretive, very esoteric, very divine, and of a very different nature, very different from the normal romantic affairs. What else? These Pisces rising individuals make the excellent psychologists, and the excellent counselors. Why? Because these people, there are a couple of reasons why these people make the excellent psychologists and counselors. Because firstly, these people are seen serving the needy people, or serving the people in the jails, asylums, hospitals, ashrams, addiction centers, uh, the schools for the blind, and the things of that nature. Secondly, these people are all about are all about fulfilling the wants, desires, and the wishes of the other people at the cost of their own self advancement. Thirdly, because in these people do not have the exalted practicality of the Virgo ascendant, but they have the exalted imagination of the 12th house, which allows them, or which configures them to dive into the innermost layers of the psyche of an individual, and find out that what's wrong in there. And that is why these people can trace out or they can themselves feel that what was the nature of the trauma that the patient, whosoever they are treating, went through. And that is why these people are seen serving somebody who is suffering from schizophrenia, OCD, dyslexia, social anxiety, generalized anxiety disorder, or any acute mental illness. And the other reason why these people make excellent psychologists and counselors is because of the fact that the energy of the planet Moon is present in their fifth house, is present in their fifth house of education. And if you are new to my channel, let me tell you, individuals, that I have already discussed in my earlier episodes, that Moon represents the knowledge of chemicals. That is why, because of these couple of reasons, these people make the excellent psychologists and counselors. Now, while these people excel being psychologists and counselors, they make excellent one of the best psychologists and counselors in astrology are these Pisces rising individuals. Now, while they make the excellent psychologists and counselors, they don't excel at being psychiatrists, surgeons, or being sexologists. And this is the reason that instead of the doctors that the Virgo ascendants or the Scorpion ascendants excel at, these people instead of the doctors, these people make excellent nurses, compounders, chemists. So they are involved in the field of medicine. They also want to help people come out of the physical and the mental ailment, yet through the sweet amalgamation of the 12th house and the 6th house energy, that is through the perfect amalgamation of the knowledge of medicine and the sensitivity that these people are blessed with. And guys, we all know that the 12th house in astrology is directly opposite the 6th house. And for these Pisces rising individuals, the energy of the original 12th house of the horoscope comes into their first house, which practically sums up the picture of their entire life. And so, in order to know more about these Pisces rising individuals, we need to have an in-depth analysis of the in-depth study of what the 12th house in astrology is all about. And in order to understand the 12th house of astrology in detail, we need to have a clear picture of what does the 6th house in astrology symbolizes. What is the 6th house in astrology? This is the 6th house in astrology, and it is directly opposite the 12th house. 6th house in astrology is the house of hurdles, obstacles, court cases, litigations, debts, competition, divorce cases. 6th house in astrology is the house wherein you are discreet, prudent, intelligent, and by being discreet, prudent, and intelligent, you are kind of combating with the problems of the normal day-to-day world, which is shrewd and mean in nature, mind you. So, 6th house is a house of practicality and very much operating on the materialistic scale or the materialistic plane. What else is the 6th house in astrology? The 6th house in astrology is the house wherein we are using the computer softwares and programs Sixth house in astrology is the house wherein we are using the mathematical tools and the statistical tools like the SPSS softwares and correlation and the regression analysis. Sixth house is a house wherein we are using our knowledge of data interpretation, analytical reasoning, business acumen, and the knowledge of herbs and medicine to take up the problems and thereby go about nitpicking things, finding the faults, and by meticulously and scrupulously working upon those faults, we want to either improve upon those faults or completely improve or completely eliminate those faults till we take the things to perfection. So sixth house is very much the house of practicality, and since the 12th house is directly opposite the sixth house, so in the 12th house the sense of practicality ceases, the sense of practicality stops, and instead the sense of imagination flourishes. And guys, since these Pisces rising individuals lose sense of reality, these people are all about fulfilling the goals, desires, wishes of the other people at the cost of their own self-advancement. These people are all about the betterment of the other people. These people are all about extending their selfless love to the people in the jails, asylums, hospitals, addiction centers, uh, the school for the blind people, and all the dark places that are represented by the 12th house in astrology. And if we look on a professional front, highly unlikely are the chances that you will be paid handsomely when you are doing jobs of that nature. And this is the reason that these people can sometimes run into debt, because they don't because they are not that money savvy or not that good at wealth management. So my advice to these Pisces rising individuals is that fine enough, you are philanthropic in nature, you are generous in nature, you are magnanimous in nature, you want to extend your love to others around you, and this kind of gives you the tranquility and the composure of mind. That's fine enough, all the traits are fine enough. After all, you will do whatever God has sent you on earth to do, but you shall always hire a wealth manager or a wealth consultant so that you may not run into debt or any trouble when it comes to managing the money, because the normal person of the practical and the materialistic world might be of the mental orientation that I have got a family to support by, I have got children, so my foremost duty in life is to give all the possible materialistic comforts of the world to my family and to my children, and only after the fulfillment of my goals, desires and wishes, I'll think about rendering my services or giving my money to the people who need my love or money the most. And guys, can you now relate to the stuff that I earlier said, that these people can become the good psychologists, counselors, helpers, nurses, chemists, compounders, because of their exalted imagination and their exalted sensitivity. But when they are engaged in professions like psychiatry, like surgery, or when they are engaged in the profession of gynecology, these people don't do that well as in the earlier professions, because in these particular professions you cannot afford to exhibit your sensitivity and the emotional or the mental vulnerability. In these professions, a lot of practicality is needed, and moreover, these jobs are highly paid, and these jobs are seen from the 6th house and the 8th house in astrology, where a lot of practicality and manipulation, schemingfulness is needed. And guys, we all know that for these Pisces rising individuals, the energy of the original 12th house of the horoscope comes into their first house, which sums up the picture of their entire life. So these Pisces rising individuals are all about seeking dimensions which are inaccessible to the beings of the practical world. these 12th house individuals or these Pisces rising individuals are all about seeking dimensions which are beyond the realm of understanding of the beings of the practical and the materialistic world. These Pisces rising individuals are all about establishing a connection with the beings of the other dimension, with the beings of the outer world. And this is the reason that these Pisces rising individuals are interested in UFOs, aliens, and the bodies in the outer world, or the bodies in this or the bodies in the outer space. Then these people, since they are able to establish a connection with that soul entity, with that soul divine force that governs all life on earth, these people these people are able to easily establish a connection with the God. They are all about talking to the free spirits, and this is the reason that they make good angel readers, they make good astrologers, Reiki masters, pranic healers, the motivational, spiritual, and the meditational gurus, and the related professions. They make good occultists also. What else? Uh, then for these Pisces rising individuals, the energy of the original second house of the horoscope is coming into their third house, which governs the hands. The hands in astrology are seen from the third house of our horoscope, and from the second house we see that how eloquent our speech is, how good we are at singing, or how good we are at music. The energy of the second house of music and the eloquent speech is coming into the third house of hands. So these guys excel at playing the musical instruments. They are exceptionally good at playing these musical instruments. What else? Instead of the people who are day in and day out coding and decoding of languages, or instead of the computer or the software programmers from the 12th house, or these Pisces rising individuals, they go into the careers wherein they could be developing the mobile phone applications, wherein they could be developing the mobile games, or the playstations and the things of that nature. So somebody in my Virgo Ascendant video asked me this particular question, that I am interested in both the coding and decoding of languages, since I am a software programmer, and but I want to go into the mobile application developing thing. So what out of these two professions shall I go into? So my advice to that particular Virgo individual is that until and unless any planets of yours are placed in the 12th house, or the 10th house of careers has any correlation with the 12th house, you shall not go into the mobile phone application developing thing. You shall stick to the regular coding and decoding of programs. But if your 10th house of careers has any correlation with the 12th house, or there is a major concentration of your planets in the 12th house, then of course you can think about going into this development of the mobile phone applications, the mobile phone games, or the PlayStation and the things of that nature. And guys, 12th house is a house of working behind the scenes. 12th house is a house of working in the closed, lonely and secluded places. And this is the reason that these Pisces rising individuals make the excellent scientists and researchers. Now you guys might be kind of stymied here, that how come these Pisces rising individuals who are driven by an exalted imagination instead of an exalted practicality, how can these people become the good scientists and researchers? Because practicality is kind of an essentiality for a scientist or for a researcher to have. But here's one thing: if you closely look at the life of a researcher or a scientist, it's not a very easy one, because a scientist knows deep within him that by the time his work is recognized, he is going to be no longer alive. And that's a very common phenomena. I can give you thousands of examples of the discoveries and inventions that have been recognized after a scientist's death, or a scientist's work was given the recognition after his or her death, or in the scientist knows deep within that by the time his work is recognized, he is going to be too old to harbor in that name, fame, and glory that comes as a reward after a scientist's work is given the recognition. And moreover, the scientist is not only driven by the fact that he wants to do something for the present generation, but instead he knows down within that whatever discovery and invention he has made is going to benefit the future generations to come. So this is a scientist's or a researcher's way of uplifting the universe to a whole new level of self-awareness and self-consciousness. This is his way of serving the universe at a or in a very larger perspective. But here's a difference. While a Virgo rising scientist would be more practical in nature and would be driven by money, and there is nothing bad about it if you are driven by money, that's also essentiality in today's materialistic world. But these Pisces ascendant scientists are more driven by their vivid imagination. So there could be a situation like a scientist is, let's suppose a scientist is sitting, so he might tap into his vivid imagination and think that while I was close to that particular statue, that statue looked very large and kingly, but as I moved away from that statue, the size of that statue appeared smaller. So he, by tapping into his vivid imagination, he kind of comes up with a theory of physics, and the things of this nature are seen. And what else? Since these Pisces rising individuals have an exalted imagination and sensitivity, they make the excellent writers, poets, philosophers, artists. And guys, these Pisces ascendant make the excellent social workers. Now, what is the proper astrological reasoning behind the same as to why they make the excellent social workers? Well, in order to find out that, we have to again dig in their 6th house of the horoscope of these Pisces rising individuals. Now, you might be wondering that why am I again and again in this particular episode making a reference to the 6th house of the horoscope of these Pisces rising individuals. It's because the symbol 5 is written over here. And if you are new to my channel, let me tell you individuals that I have told in all my episodes of the rising sign series that whenever we got to decipher out the professions any particular ascendant is most likely to get into, we always look at their horoscope and we find out that which house is ruled by the planet sun, or we always look at that particular house where the symbol 5 is written, because the symbol 5 represents the energy of the sun. And by engaging ourselves in the professions of the house that is ruled by sun, we kind of give our self ego, our self esteem a boost. We kind of get the sense of attainment, the sense of fulfillment and achievement, which is very important in the professional arena. So what is the 6th house in astrology? Well, the 6th house in astrology is the house of hurdles, obstacles, court cases, litigations, diseases, competition, and debts. What else is the 6th house in astrology? The 6th house in astrology is the house wherein you are intelligent, discreet and prudent, and by being intelligent, discreet and prudent, you are able to combat with the problems of the normal day-to-day world. 6th house is a house wherein you are using the mathematical tools, the computational tools, the statistical tools, wherein you are using your knowledge or your skill set of data interpretation, analytical reasoning, business acumen, wherein you are using your verbal argumentation skills, and all the skill set that I earlier talked of to pick up the problems and thereby go about nitpicking things, finding faults, and by being squeamish, priggish, and by meticulously and scrupulously working upon those faults, you kind of go about eliminating those faults till you take the things to perfection. and that's the reason that the lawyers are seen from the 6th house in astrology. And from the 6th house we also see somebody fighting for the justice of the justice of the other people, fighting for the rights of the other people. Like a lawyer is seen from this particular house in astrology because he kind of makes use of all the skill set and the tools that I talked of to find out that at what place did the murder took place, matching the DNA of the person who was murdered with the DNA of the murderer, and reaching to a conclusion of some sort by tapping into the zone like that, how much distance did the murderer had to traverse in order to reach at the site of crime, and the things like that. So lawyers are seen from the 6th house in astrology, or the people who want to fight for the rights of the other people. And guys, these Pisces rising individual, like the lawyers, want to fight for the rights of the other people. They want to stand up for the people to whom the justice was being denied. But inherently, these Pisces rising individuals know that they do not possess the skill set of the 6th house that I earlier talked of, and neither do they possess the business acumen and the verbal argumentation skill that the lawyer has. But the inherent desire to stand up for the right of the other people, or to fight for the rights of the people to whom the justice was being denied, is very strong in these Pisces rising individuals. So now what happens is that they tap into their vivid imagination, and they think out ways and means by which they can fight for the rights of the other people. So they come out with a plan that if not a lawyer, yes, that's true that I cannot become a lawyer, but by being associated with some kind of an NGO, or by becoming a social worker, I can fulfill my desire of fighting for the rights of the underprivileged sections of the society to whom the justice is denied. So these guys can be seen patronizing a campaign that has to do with the social or the economic relevance. So these guys might go on hunger strikes. They might carry out a march or a protest expressing their anger, making the people aware, yet in the very constitutional, legitimate and justful manner, and through the means of non-violence, like the Gandhian nature. So therein could be situations wherein they may fight for the rights of the poor farmers. They might be of the mental orientation that the farmers are denied most of the profit. The farmers do not get a lot of profit because the middleman that is there takes away most of the profit. So the farmers should be given the direct access to the grain market, and the role of the middleman shall be totally eliminated or shall be curtailed. So they may carry out a protest against those middlemen and fight for the right of the poor farmers. Or in these people might be of the mental orientation that certain seats might be reserved for that underprivileged section of the society, so that they can voice their opinion and make the country aware of the problems their particular community or the minority is facing. Or in they could be upholding campaigns for the self-advancement of the women community in society. Or they may fight against racism that has to do with caste, creed and color, because for these 12th house individuals the boundaries of caste, creed and color no longer exist, and instead the universal love exists. So these people may fight against racism. In fact, there could be situation wherein these people might marry somebody from the foreign lands. And now when I say foreign lands, I don't necessarily mean a foreign country. When I say foreign lands, I also mean that they could marry somebody from a different caste. They may marry somebody of a different caste, creed or color. So for them, these materialistic boundaries do not exist. And guys, wherever the energy of the original 12th house of the horoscope comes in, there are always ups and downs in the things related to that house wherein the energy of the original 12th house of the horoscope comes in. And for these Pisces rising individuals, the energy of the 12th house of ups and downs is present in their first house, which kind of sums up the picture of their entire life. And this is the reason that there are ups and downs in every area of the life of these Pisces rising individuals, and this makes these people very moody in nature. They need to have a very strong or an emotional a very strong emotional and spiritual connection with any task, with any particular task that they are engaged in. As long as that emotional connection is there, they'll pursue that particular task with all their heart. But the moment they lose the emotional or the spiritual connection with that particular task, they will leave that task therein and there itself without thinking about the pros and cons of it. And this is particularly seen when it comes to their education and romance. Why? Because the energy of the planet moon is governing their fifth house of education and romance, and moon represents the sea. So like the tides of the sea, there are always ups and downs in the things related to the house which is governed by moon. So since moon governs their house of education and romance, so this particular ups and downs are very prominent in their education and in their romance life. So when it comes to education, let's suppose this particular Pisces rising individual is studying mathematics or commerce or physics or any subject whatsoever, and the only reason that he has decided to take up mathematics or commerce or physics is because of the fact that he has found some kind of a strong emotional or spiritual connection with that particular subject, and this kind of configures him to pursue that subject with all his heart. But the moment this guy loses the emotional and the spiritual connection with that particular subject that he is already engaged in, he kind of leaves that subject therein and there itself. And this is the reason that their education can suffer. And these Pisces rising individuals, for the similar reasons, their bag is not loaded with the high profile academic degrees. You can easily see a Pisces rising individual who has done the biotech engineering in his graduation, who goes on to pursue the masters in finance, and instead ends up become a astrologer, Reiki master, or pranic healer. So things of that nature are seen in these Pisces rising individuals. And guys, this is the reason these people are seen changing their line of education several times in their life. And this is a kind of a similar phenomena when it comes to their romantic affairs. Now when this particular Pisces rising individual is in a romantic affair, he wants to extend one of the most selfless, unconditional, pure, divine and esoteric love to the partner whosoever he is engaged in a romantic affair with, and he expects the similar sort of love in return. He is so much glued to that partner, he is so much engaged in that romantic affair that he loses sense of reality and doesn't give a damn to the world. He forgets about the rest of the relations he ought to pay attention to. Neither do these people care about the rest of the world when they are engaged in that particular romantic affair. But when this particular romantic affair is about to reach the pinnacle or the apex of success, these people kind of start feeling suffocated. At that point, these people feel that they cannot limit their love to a single individual that they were dating earlier, and instead they want to extend their love to the entire universe. They want to extend their services and love to others around them. And this is when they lose the emotional connection with that particular partner they were dating and come out of that romantic affair, go into yet another romantic affair, then another romantic affair. And this is the reason that these people are seen dating the multiple partners at a single time, or they may have gone through a lot of romantic affairs in their life before they actually settle down. Or in these people may decide not to marry at all because they want to extend their services to the entire universe. They want to raise the entire universe to a whole new level of self-awareness and self-consciousness, and this is their way of serving the universe at a larger than life perspective. And that is why the people who do not marry in their life, or the monks working in the spiritual sanctuary, are seen from the 12th house in astrology, that they can make the most spiritual and the most learned monks in astrology. And guys, can you see that for these Pisces rising individuals, the symbol 8 is written in their 9th house. 9th house is the house of higher learning. 9th house is the house of education at the higher universities. 9th house is a house that symbolizes your knowledge of law, religion, philosophy, the teachings of the Guru. These all things are seen from the 9th house in astrology. 9th house in astrology tells about your agenda in life. 9th house in astrology is the final preparatory ground before you jump into the 10th house of careers, name, fame and reputation. 9th house is a final test that God puts you through before He sets you free to make a name, fame and reputation for yourself in the outer world. And with the energy of the 8th house of sudden ups and downs coming into the 9th house, the philosophy of these people is always changing from time to time in their life, as it happened with their education and romance life. Guys, since the energy of the Aries sign is coming into the 2nd house of their horoscope, these Pisces rising individuals take great pride in their ancestral lineage and religion. These people take great pride in celebrating the ancestral customs, traditions and festivals. These people take great pride in knowing about their ancestors and ancestral deity, and they want to pass on this ancestral knowledge to their future generations to come. But since the energy of the Scorpio sign of the sudden ups and downs is present into the 9th house of philosophy and religion, these people can at times switch their religion and adopt some another religion which they find is more sacred, unbiased and more refined in nature. And this is because 12th house energy which is present in their 1st house, that sums up the picture of their entire life. That 12th house energy is all about breaking the code of conduct, is all about breaking the norms that are established or that are universally accepted in society. So as you can see in the horoscope for these Pisces rising individual, if you look at any house of their horoscope, each house has the original energy of the house that is 12th from it. So 1st house has the original energy of the 12th house, and mind you, the 12th house is 12 places from the 1st house. Similarly, their 2nd house has the original energy of the 1st house, and 1st house is 12 places from the 2nd house. Similarly, their 3rd house has the original energy of the 2nd house, and the 2nd house is 12th from the 3rd house. So 12th means losses, 12th means draining out energy, 12th means breaking the code of conduct, doing the otherworldly things. So even when it comes to their fashion sense, these Pisces rising individuals have a very different fashion sense. Now whether they come across as nerds or they become the fashion icons, new fashion icons, that all depends upon the placement of planets, that how good are the planets placed in their horoscope. Now guys, I told you that these individuals do not make the good doctors, and instead they make the good nurses, the good caretakers, the people who take care of others in the jails, asylums, hospitals, addiction centers, schools for the blind, teachers. Then I told you that these people do not become the good lawyers, and instead they become the good social workers or the people associated with the NGOs. Then I told you that these people do not become the good surgeons or the psychiatrists, and instead they become the good astrologers, Reiki masters, pranic healers, counselors or psychologists. Now this was only a generalized prediction for this Pisces rising individual. You could be one Pisces rising individual who would excel at the fields of psychiatry, or at the field of medicine, or at the field of law. That is, you could be a good lawyer also. That all depends upon the placement of planets. So if the planet's sun, which rules their sixth house, if the planet Venus, which rules their eighth house, and if the planet Mercury, which rules their fourth house and the seventh house, has some kind of a correlation with the 10th house of their horoscope, or with the 10th house lord, origin, something is happening in the Namansha or the Shamsha chart, that indicates that these particular three planets have some kind of a correlation with your career, then you can excel at those fields also. So please don't sue me here that I have told you that you can venture into those particular fields only that I earlier talked about for most of the time in my video. Now, one another thing, these 12th house people, I am calling Pisces rising individuals as the 12th house individuals, because the original energy of the 12th house is coming into the first house, which sums up their picture of the entire life. So these Pisces rising individuals make the good people who go to the foreign lands and make the huge donations there. They could make the donations in the ashrams, asylums, addiction centers, hospitals, or they could adopt children from the third world countries, or they could, depending upon their financial status, they could make investments. If you are an industrialist, you could make investments in the third world countries, and your motto in life is to the underdeveloped country out of the shackles of poverty. So things like that can be seen with these Pisces rising individuals, since 12th house indicates a philanthropic nature, and 12th house is a house of making donations, and 12th house is also a foreign lands. So the amalgamation of these two energy indicates this. Now guys, coming to the most important part of the video, which is my special advice section. So my special advice to this Pisces rising individuals is that if you are a Pisces rising individual, you know that there are ups and downs in every area of your life, especially when it comes to education, romance, philosophy, and your professions. There is a kind of a scattered, dissipated energy which is directionless. In order for this directionless energy to gain direction, or for this directionless energy to settle down, what you shall do is that you shall seek a job in the foreign lands, or you shall migrate to a foreign land and start up a business there. Now the moment you migrate to a foreign land or a foreign nation, or a different state or a different city, this is when you feel that the sense of tranquility, composure, steadiness is coming back to you, which was earlier missing in your life. And one more important thing, that if these Pisces rising individuals are involved in some kind of a creative profession, they should make sure that they choose a place or location that is nearby water, because Pisces is the watery sign, and these people really excel when they live close to water. And guys, this was my take on the Pisces rising individuals. Hope you enjoyed the video. I would be soon uploading the part 2 of the video in a few days. And make sure you subscribe to my channel and press the notification bell, so that you are regularly updated whenever I upload a video. And till then, take care, enjoy, have fun, and do good to others. Okay, goodbye.